Yesterday, some of our devotees started a WhatsApp group to help people in practical ways with COVID. And this is one example of how God is always asking us to be a channel for good in the world. And how do we be that divine channel? And Yogananda Ji tells us here. He says, "Every sound that I make, let it have the vibration of thy voice. Every thought that I think, let it be saturated with the consciousness of thy presence. Let every feeling I have glow with thy love. Let every act of my will be impregnated with thy divine vitality. Let every thought, every expression, every ambition be ornamented by thee. O divine sculptor, chisel thou my life according to thy design. Chisel thou my life according to thy design." There was the story of the sculptor who was asked, "How did you make such a beautiful statue of an elephant?" And he said, "Well, I took the block of marble and I just removed everything that was not the elephant." And we each are that divine child of the light. And we are that already. And we simply need to remove from our consciousness everything that covers up that reality. Yogananda Ji said that a diamond may be covered for years with mud, but under the mud it's always a diamond. And so it is also with our consciousness. It's one and eternal. Yogananda Ji defined self-realization as the knowing in all parts of body, mind, and soul that you are now in possession of the kingdom of God, that you do not have to pray that it come to you, that God's omnipresence is your omnipresence, that all you need to do is to improve your knowing. God is just as much a part of us now as he ever will be. We just have to improve our knowing. Swamiji wrote, "Education is about learning. Yoga is about unlearning. Unlearning the thoughts and attitudes that hold us back. Removing everything from that block of stone that is not a beautiful sculpture." A number of times I had the blessing of meeting Swami Satchidananda, who was a direct disciple of Swami Shivananda in Rishikesh, and he was establishing a mission in America at the same time that Swami Kriyananda was starting Ananda Sangha. And Swami Satchidananda was very, very clever with words. And He said once someone asked him, "Are you a Hindu?" And he said, "I'm an undo." And then he went on to explain how we need to undo and unlearn so many things that hold us back. And just how much do we welcome this divine sculptor to chisel our life according to his will, as Guruji said, because sometimes those chisel blows may hurt. But to see ourselves as a child of light, we also need to discipline our minds and purify our hearts, as Sri Krishna tells us. Sri Krishna says, "Yogis who strive for liberation see his reality already in themselves. But those who, even though striving, have not purified their hearts and lack discipline, they see him not." A friend of mine, before she came on the spiritual path, went to a spiritual fair with a group of her friends. There were a number of speakers. And first they went to hear a popular spiritual teacher. And he was popular because he talked about fantastic spiritual experiences and powers and things which we might call spiritual fireworks. And then this group of friends went to hear Swami Kriyananda. And he was very different. And he talked about having positive attitudes, of accepting life the way that it is, of developing humility and devotion, and getting up every time you fall down and move forward no matter what. And the others in this group of friends, they much preferred the first speaker. But my friend said that she had a sneaking suspicion that what Swami Kriyananda was talking about was really what the spiritual path was all about. Without these kinds of attitudes, there never will be those miraculous experiences. We'll only be hearing about them. And it really is what we do moment by moment. These little things add up to the totality of our spiritual lives. Swamiji said, "You are what you are, not because of your skills or abilities or talents or intellect, not even your thoughts. You are what you are because of what you've done. If you had done differently, you would be different. Whatever you are now determines who and what you will be in the future." And we might think that it's all about meditation. And meditation is the core of what we do, but the quality of our meditation is determined by all the moments that came before that meditation. What's going on in our life right now? It's the little things. Am I paying attention? Am I calling to God? Am I trying to feel His presence? How calm, how even-minded am I in facing COVID? Or am I full of fear? Swamiji said the way to know God is by living in godly consciousness. And Guruji said, don't ask when I will find God. You have him right now. We just have to live more and more in that divine consciousness. When we practice tennis shots, we can practice against a wall, or we can have a coach. And the wall is predictable. We pretty much can predict how that ball is going to come back to us. But with the coach, he hits the ball back to us at all different angles, fast and slow, or it may spin. And we have to be very awake, and we have to respond. We have to accept what is and respond accordingly. And it can be hard work. It can be embarrassing. We need to expect the unexpected. And God works in the same way as the coach, leading us, pushing us, if necessary, forward. I saw a cartoon once of a devotee who was praying. And he said, I really want to grow spiritually. But please, not in any way that's painful or embarrassing. And this is often how we might think. And sometimes that's the way it is. We need to pick ourselves up every time that we make a mistake. Every time we do Hong Sa and the mind wanders, we calmly, gently bring the mind back to that one practice. Accepting life the way that it is. And feeling that we're a child of divine light, and identifying with that light gives us the confidence to keep trying. It gives us the motivation to want that light, and it gives us the power to get there. Swamiji said, within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. And God will help us not just to believe, but also to know through our direct experience that we are indeed children of the light. And that's my wish for you today.
We are children of the light. We need to affirm that and know that as our true reality. And we have to continually ask ourselves, do I believe that is my true nature? We think of the birds of the air, they fly, that's their nature, build nests, have babies. Think of the fish of the sea, they swim. I'm thinking of, oh God beautiful, Master's chant. The mountains are high, the forests are green, the oceans are deep. All of God's creation, they manifest their true nature. They manifest as God created them. And so we have to ask ourselves, are we manifesting our true nature? You know, the scriptures say, Tattvamasi, Aham Brahm Asmi. In the Bible, it says you are made in the image of God. Christ said, know that you are perfect. You and your Father are one. So, this is God telling us who we are. All the gurus tell us who we are. And if we are living in that truth, then we are doing just fine, whatever happens outside of ourselves, whatever happens all around us, because living in that truth will give us the experience of that reality. Our reality is determined by our consciousness. So it's our job to be in control of our consciousness. And that's what the spiritual path is all about. So many of us, as Swami says, live in spiritual amnesia. We forget who we are. And of course, there's that story, I think we've even told it not very long ago, of the lion that was sort of found by a herd, by a flock of sheep. And the mother had died giving birth, and the flock of sheep took pity on this little lion cub and brought it up. And so the lion cub grew up thinking it was a sheep. It would try to bleat like a sheep. It would eat grass like a sheep. And then one fine day, after it had grown up, another lion came to the flock to actually find its dinner. And all the sheep went running away and bleating and in fear. And even the lion now was running away, bleating in fear. And this other lion thought, what's going on with this lion? And so he ran after the other lion. The hunting lion ran after the sheep lion and caught it and said, and the sheep lion said, no, don't eat me, don't eat me. And he said, what are you talking about? You're a lion, you're strong, you have all this power. Why are you running around with all these sheep? And he said, no, I'm a sheep. He had spiritual amnesia. And so then the hunting lion, shook the sheep lion a little bit and brought him to a pond and said, look at yourself and look at me. We are the same. You forgot you were a lion. You have all this power and you just are like fearful like a little sheep. And of course the sheep lion, he probably loved his flock, but he did know now that he was a powerful lion. So that's like us. That's what the guru does. He comes and shakes us up a little bit and says, no, you are not weak. You are not small. You do not have all these limitations. And you have all the power of the universe. And why don't you claim it? Swami's song, how the soul made to live in freedom can reclaim its eternal right. How the night, born of our delusion, can be fired, can be burned, blazing in his light. Master would not accept limitations. He said to Devi Mukherjee, his disciples, he said, if you only truly believed that you were free, you would be free. He saw us all as beings of light. And how do we see ourselves? What are we affirming every day in our thoughts? We know how many thoughts, 50, 60, 70,000 thoughts a day. Hopefully less for us meditators because we have stilled our mind. But how many thoughts a day? What are we thinking? Are we thinking, I am made in the image of God. I am a child of the light. The infinite power flows through me. Or are we thinking, I'm afraid. I'm limited. I don't have control of this situation. I'm upset. And then, like Keshava just said, what does that do to our future? We're like creating our future with our thoughts. Yesterday's healing affirmations that we did once an hour, claiming once an hour the light, who we are, being channels of light, sharing that light with others. When we are channels and instruments of that light, we increase the light in this world that desperately needs it. And also we become pillars of light for our family, for our friends. We remember who we are. And then we can project that on everyone else. Because, look at Swami Kriyananda. He had a very frail body in the last 20 years of his life, but he always had various health difficulties. He had, heart issues. He had, broken hip issues. He had lots of different issues with his health. Did it ever slow him down a little? Here in India, he was very, very, very sick. He would show up places in wheelchairs. He would stand up and give the most powerful talks. He would write books while he was desperately ill. I saw him do 365 TV shows while he had undiagnosed diabetes and he was really suffering. Nothing stopped him. He would not identify with his body. What he would identify with was the power and the wisdom and the love of his guru that he felt flowing through him. And that's what we need to do. This is a constant battle. As Krishna told Arjuna, on the battlefield, you must fight. We must fight this battle of Maya telling us everything that's wrong with the world, telling us that actually it's night, when for the yogi it's day. And we have to fight that battle. Every time we affirm that we are light, energy rises up our spine. Every time we are afraid, energy descends our spine. It's that battle. In every moment, do I choose the light or am I going to let darkness bring me down? And what we feel about ourselves, how we perceive our own identity, affects everybody around us. Because if I think I'm weak and afraid and limited, I have all these limitations, then what do I think about my children? What do I think about my parents? I want them to be protected in light. I want to perceive them as light, so they are protected. I must know that about myself, so I can know that about them. We help everyone around us by affirming our true reality. And if everybody else doesn't believe us, again, what is night to the worldly man is day to the yogi. It is up to us if we are going to stand for the light. And if we're going to help others, we need to. Because later on, they will be looking to us to pull them up. And we ourselves need to be pulled up if we're going to help anybody else. So, the lion story is that is the guru. He has come to us with right teaching. He tells us who we are. We read the scriptures. We know what the masters have said. They incarnated to teach us this. They gave us, a teaching from the highest level. Right technique. They have given us the right technique to withdraw our energy into the spine and lift it up. Lift up that consciousness to the truth of who we are. Lift up that consciousness to the light of who we are. Fight the battle. That's what the technique is all about. And it has come from a very high level of realization. And we have enlightened masters guiding us, who came for us to tell us that we are beings of light. Are we going to not believe them? Do we think that their perception is not as accurate as our own? I think their perception is better than ours. So we may think things look scary outside. They're only scary if we believe that Maya has the power to get victory over light. Do we believe that in our hearts and souls? In our innermost self, what do we believe? I think we believe that we're born of the light. We're made in God's image. We're made in that light. And light will prevail. We are children of the light. We must claim it. We must. For everyone. For our families, for this world. Ananda devotees all over the world, masters, disciples all over the world, they are claiming light now. We are bringing light into the world. And it will transform the world. And God knows what He's doing. Divine Mother, they have a plan, and all is well. Joy to you.